Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure, but it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Hey, welcome back once again. Just so thrilled to see you because this is the Real People program. This is where real people really interact with me. I'm real. What we're going to do is look at some of the favorite things of favorite people. Now, just favorite people because we sent out 10,000 forms and got some back. And really what the form was all about was to try and find out the kind of national cooking style that you like and cooking methods and recipes, rather like taking a big snapshot of what you like to eat and the way you like to eat it. This is mine, actually, so I don't need to look at that one. But this one here came from Joe Presley. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Joe Presley. Now, Joe, I want to freeze him in history just for a moment, because Joe's 17 right now, and later on he's going to be 18 and 19, and for as long as this program keeps being replayed, he's going to get older. And his brother Brian is going to get older. Until I was just saying to Brian just now that Brian's actually going to get older than Joe will eventually, if you get the idea. Anyway, Joe is completing high school at the present moment. He has a goal right now of 20% calories from fat. Well done, Joe, that's great. I tell you what he doesn't like. He doesn't like fish sauce, and he doesn't like anchovies, which goes together, but he doesn't like beetroot, which is a bit odd. You'll grow into that, I think, Joe. Mother's Scottish. Oh, no, his father's Scottish and English. His mother, and I was a bit odd about this one, his mother he describes as a Heinz 57 variety, and I've met her, and she doesn't look a bit like that. Actually, I think the husband brings out the Norwegian in her, as he likes to say. Okay, well, there you are. There's Joe, who would like to just a bit more about Joe. This is what he likes. He likes Chinese cooking. That's his #1 pick. Stir frying, of course. Well, I mean, if you're into this, you're into this. Chop suey, he likes, one of the dishes that we've done before. And ginger root. God, oh, I love a 17-year-old that likes ginger root. Lemongrass, garlic. Ham was in his favorite ingredients. Sun-dried tomatoes as well. Green onions and peas, and soy sauce and rice. Now, if you just look at all of that, and he sent me in a fried rice idea, and I looked at that and I thought, boy, you know, I think I could get all of that in there and drop the oil out to a major extent. Let's have a go. Come through and I'll show you how it's done. All right, now, as we do it, every time we do a springboard idea, which is a basic concept that if you apply it to any recipe, any ingredients, it helps you to increase flavor and at the same time decrease risk. All right, so this one is called baoxiang, which means an explosion of fragrance, literally exploding fragrance in Chinese. Now, what we do is, and I suggested cutting ginger, this is ginger root, into pieces the size of a quarter. And I said quarter-sized pieces. That was a little hard to understand. So Joe eventually worked it out. It is like the size of a US quarter. That's the size, all right? So what can be done, and this is one of the ways in which it is traditionally done, is a lot of oil. Now, I'm just putting a great deal. I'm not measuring it. I'm just putting a lot of oil in the pan. That's about the amount of oil which is normally used, you know, for frying. And you'll see what the numbers come out to be much later on. But then what is done is garlic, here, ginger here, ginger root, put into oil, and then green onions in large pieces, and that's garlic as well. Now, those are the kind of the three musketeers that go into the flavor base for a baoxiang. And what they're really doing there, as they're sizzling around, is they're giving up the natural volatile oils that they've got into the oil. And when they've done that, not so as to brown them, but just to sort of ooze out the flavor, then you just throw the pieces away and use the flavored oil. Now, what happens when you only want to use 1/4 teaspoonful of oil? Glad you asked. Well, what you do is you change the way you cut it up. Now, here I've got the same amount of ginger, the same 7 pieces of ginger, the same 3 cloves of garlic, and the same 6 stalks of green onions, which we're going to use later on. But these are actually cut very fine. See how fine that's cut? We're going to combine all of that together and keep it in. Big difference. Instead of letting it wallow in oil, we just keep it in with very little oil, then put the other ingredients immediately on top so that it doesn't scorch, and then stir those around in the dish itself. And that means you've got these little tiny sparks of flavor and gorgeous stuff all through this rice dish that we're going to do. That's the reason. Now, instead of just using just the 3 musketeers, you can use other things as well. Look at this. You can use lemongrass if you can find it, and it's becoming much more available nowadays. You can actually grow it yourself, and in California. Lime, lemon, the outside zest can be taken off and used. This is kaffir lime leaves. When the Thai people come and live amongst us, they grow a kaffir lime tree and they use the lime leaves, and they're beautiful. This is a shallot, and that's wonderful. Cloves can be used, red chilies, and also cardamom or cumin. It's beautiful to use cumin seed. This is cumin seed right here. Now, all of those could be used. It's wide open. Just think of a flavor base, an aromatic flavor base, tiny little pieces picked up in stews and casseroles, everything, okay? All right, now let's see how we take this basic springboard idea and see what's on the menu today, all right?
Today on Graham Kerr's Kitchen, an old favorite, fried rice. White rice and wheat berries with Canadian bacon, green onions, sun-dried tomatoes, and egg omelet.
Okay, Joe, here we go. Isn't it fun to see your dish on a menu? It's great stuff. Okay, look, let's get just back to this ginger thing again, because I was going to show this to you just in the springboard. This is a ginger root. And if you've never seen it and didn't know what it was, it's a rhizome, actually. That's what that is. And this is garlic, of course, and the green onion. And the other thing that you could put in some of the, you know, like a lamb stew or something like that, or even a beef stew, a little piece of rosemary in the bottom just goes very well. You know. That, I used to throw a piece of rosemary in my bath water. Bit prickly, but otherwise it's fun. All right, now, what I've done is simply cut all of this up into very fine dice. Now, instead of little quarter-sized pieces, just cut those up, 7 pieces of ginger root, and here's the 3 cloves of garlic, chopped very fine, and here is the green onion. Now, what we'll do is simply move all of that together. The whole purpose behind this is I'm going to use this as often as I can in the dish all the way through to pick up flavor everywhere that I go, because I want the final fried rice dish to be just a knockout of flavor. So I'm going to divide that into 3 there, and I've got equal amounts, and they're going to spin around in the dish, and just those little sparkles in the air as you eat it. Great. Okay, let's put that there. Let's do the first one. Actually, let's start this off. I'm using now this neat way of keeping oil from oxidizing, you know, which is not a good idea. So you keep it in stainless steel. And this little pump business gives you just 1/4 teaspoonful of oil, so that you know that that's what it is. It's a tiny little spot, hardly seems to be enough to be able to do it. But you've got to have that in order to be able to drop the baoziang onto the top and mix it with it, because it's not going to release its oils and the flavor that it has unless it's sitting in that little puddle, sweating. I know it's a terrible word, but there it is. It's sitting in the puddle sweating. I'm going to build the heat up just a little bit. I didn't want it to be incandescent, so there we go. All right. Now, on top of that, we've got some vegetables. This is the vegetable component, you know, of the garnish of the dish. But first of all, because I noticed that he liked ham and bacon, I just took Canadian bacon. Now, a 1 ounce piece of Canadian bacon looks like this one. It's just a small piece cut across. You can see how lean that is. Now, if you just take that one slice, you just take 3 slices of that for 4 people. That means that you've got very low amount of meat in the dish. So when this is just given up its ghost a little bit, you can smell when it has, because it's beginning to rise off the pan. I don't want it to scorch. I just wanted it to be able to say hello, and then take the bacon and pop that down too. Now you know when you start to sizzle bacon in the pan, how wonderful that smells. Imagine now how that smells all together. Let's take the next item, which is on a list of Joe's favorite things, and this is a sun-dried tomato. It doesn't look like much, frankly. I mean, just imagine how nice that was once, and they've got to wind up looking like that. But you will too. This is dried up and kind of wizened and everything else. And this is sun-dried or dried in a kiln. And this has to be soaked in a little boiling hot water for just a few minutes, and it softens up nicely. And they get to look like this. And then with a serrated knife, because they tear otherwise, you just cut it across into small pieces. And I took 10 of those halves and pop those in as well. It's amazing, you know, when you've got a meat in such small proportion that if you take this, because it's dark and it's red, and because it's got such a... you know how a good tomato tastes? Well, can you imagine when you dry it, you concentrate the flavors in it to such an extent. It's just wonderful. And they're bright, and it's somewhat sweet, but also a little bit acidic as well. You can get them soaked in oil, but obvious reasons, you know, for me, I wouldn't have them that way. Okay, so we're just stirring that all around. The pan is just full of flavor now. All right. Peas, just a few peas, just to add just a lovely color to that, and those are defrosted already, and we've got about a cup of peas there. Just stir that in around, and then that becomes the vegetable base. That's the actual aromatic vegetable base with the addition of one item. We already had some green onions, okay? Those were part of the baoziang. But these, I want just a little bit more green onion, and I would like to cut it slightly, always cut it away from you, obviously, but on a slight diagonal. Why? I don't know. It just looks a little bit better than just on the straightforward side. Now, here we go. And pick that up, and if it just cuts straight across, it's kind of dull, you know, but this way, it's got some life to it. Now, these things I want to keep nice and crisp, so that's the reason why they're added at the end. All right, stir it all around. Not red-hot pan, but enough so that now all of those ingredients are going to be turned back into the rice at the last minute. So, they look good. Let's just pour that out onto the plate there like so. Good. And in a moment, what we're going to do is put 6 of these pumps of oil. Have you ever seen anything like that before? 6 of them. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I really want you to enjoy that, because I mean, I haven't put a tablespoonful of oil into something for such a long time. By the way, if you're really good at this sort of thing, you'll notice that it's not a quarter teaspoon. Of course, it's a half teaspoonful per squirt. I made a slight error before. Slight error, 100% error. All right, so into this oil goes the baoziang. That's the second part. Remember, we actually got this whole thing together, and we're using it in 3 different parts. So now we fry that up. Now this is sizzling a lot more. This is getting quicker. The heat of the pan is up a little bit now. Just enough. You'll notice when it's right, because it's beginning to lift off the pan. Don't let it go until it gets brown. Now, see, this is in a packet, and I'll show you how this happens in a moment. But we take the rice and drop that down on top of the baoziang, and then using a couple of wooden paddles, just stir it all up together. And what you're doing, you're getting all those little pieces of flavor bound up into the rest of it. You're moving the oil around in it, and it's sizzling away like mad. And I'm going to let that little settle a bit there. And I don't want to cook the peas too much. I don't want to overcook the vegetables. So I'm going to heat that through and just let that settle. All right, good. Now, 1 other half teaspoonful, there we go, of oil into that pan, and once more the third lot of the baoziang hits it. Now this one is really different, because this one we're going to make an omelette. And this one Joe liked the idea of. He said he thought that the baoziang idea made a terrific idea with the omelette. And so what we're going to do here is add just a little bit, just 1 slice, 1 ounce of the Canadian bacon to pick that same flavor up. It's always good, you know, when you've got good flavors going through a dish, to pick up the flavors in different parts of the dish so that they say, hi, you know, you're in there too, and I'm in there too, and they kind of combine and flavor and kind of lock together. It all makes fun. And such fun doing this sort of thing, you know. So put that all in there, and then take 8 ounces of egg substitute, all right? And pop that 8 ounces of egg substitute right down into the pan, and give it just a little bit, not much, because if you overbeat egg substitute, what happens to it, it starts to break up. So that's enough just to do that. We've got that on about 2 or 3, and there we are. We're going to let that go through. Now, here is wheat berries. Oh, here, right, wheat berries. See, little tiny things look a bit like pearl barley or a bit like rice, if you will. Well, when this is cooked, it looks like this. See? Goes up 3 times. Now, what's really fascinating about this, these are cooked and simmered. They're soaked overnight and then simmered for 2 hours. Oh, I can hear you say, come on, Graham, I haven't got that amount of time. Well, it's just, you don't have to watch it all the time. You can just put it on, let it simmer. Or you can pressure cook it in 20 minutes if you like. But there they are. And I just took this amount here, which is 1/3 of a cup, and cooked that, and since they triple in size, that becomes a cup. All right. Now we put that cupful into the rice here. Now see what that looks like, just on top of it. And imagine each one of those pops in the mouth. It has the most incredible textural benefit to fried rice, is to put that wheat berry in it as well. It is really worthwhile trying. Extraordinary flavors. All right, on one side. Long grain converted rice. Now what's this? Did it get religion? No. This is rice, which is brown rice, which has been pressure cooked so that the nutrients in the husk are forced into the rice itself, and then they take the husk off, which means that you've got a long grain rice with the same kind of nutrition that brown rice has, and of course it cooks so much quicker. What you do is always wash rice, because on its way to you, it's very jolly stuff, rice, and they kind of rub against each other. Hey, isn't this fun? And they get this rice flour, and it gets cloggy if you don't wash it out. So wash it out so that the water's nice and streaming clear. I use stock in this one because when you're cutting down on the oil to the extent that I am, boy, I'll tell you, you need every help you can get, and plain water really wouldn't make it taste as well. After it's cooked for 15 minutes, you have twice the amount of water to the amount of rice. 1 1/3 cups of rice, 2 2/3 cups of water. And then that comes out, and every grain is separate and wonderful, which wouldn't happen with brown rice, and it looks wonderful. Now, what you do with that is you then put that, I know, this is going to sound silly, you put it into a bag and you deep freeze it. All good, really well done fried rice is frozen and then brought back again, or at least allowed to dry out and then used. It makes it so much better, and this is why this is going to be terrific on the top. Now, I'm going to place all those vegetables back on the top and then stir those vegetables in. Look, see? And they aren't overcooked, so they're crisp and look wonderful. This omelette here has just about stopped being baveuse on the top. Baveuse is the French word. A little bit of cross-culture there. And what's happening with baveuse is that it means that this omelette here is slightly moist, and you should always leave it slightly moist. Now what we'll do, we'll dig this out of the pan in slices. So you just put that across the top, and I'll show you what that looks like when we get that out. Okay, good. A hot dish, always hot dish. No, it means turning the oven on, putting it in the microwave, whatever you do to be able to heat the dish up. And you're just about ready. Now, there we are. Now, there's one little last bit that has to be done to the omelette just before it's served, and that's a scattering of cayenne pepper. Be a little bit careful of this if there's some youngsters around. Oh, Mum, really? And a little drop of soy sauce, just a teaspoonful, just scatter it over the top. Okay, just push that out there. overdo it. And now, this is the size of the portion. I want to be careful each time to show you what a portion size looks like. Now, there's a quarter of that. So it's 4 portions, and that's it. You then take a scoop of this omelette out like that, just a scoop. You see how that looks there? And lay that on the top. It's baveux and slightly runny. It hasn't dried out. Gorgeous. Take some wisps of green onion, place it over the outside like so, just to garnish it. And let's get into it and see how it tastes. Come on. Again, the baozi xiang is lifting off the dish as you bring it in. I mean, everybody in the whole building here knows that we're cooking. This is the classic fried rice, and this is how you'd have this in a restaurant. In fact, we got this from a restaurant so that you'd see it. And you see how much darker it is. Of course, it's had a little soy sauce with it, but it is very glistening all over. Now, mine doesn't glisten all over in the same way, but it has sort of height and texture to it. It's different. Come on. I always say these things are different, but this shows you how different they can be. 779 calories for the same volume size portion, down to 462. Now, that really is quite a drop. Fat, 37, down to 8. Good heavens. Saturated fat from 8 down to 2. Calories from fat, 42%, now 15%, which means it's right on the line for reversal of heart disease. It has that possibility. Cholesterol, down to only 13, therefore that qualifies it. Sodium, look at this, look at that amount of sodium, down to 730, which is as much as I'd like it to be on my side. And then carbohydrate, 84, that's at 75. Okay, now, big thing, how does it taste? As always, I know Joe likes this, and he liked particularly the omelette in it. I just caught a wheatberry, by the way, just reminded me of my cricket days. Oh, that is. Oh, you've got to try this. You really have. Now, it has a lovely mouthfeel to it. Got some tingling flavors. Don't forget the baozi xiang is the technique, and your ingredients that you love is what you put with it. All right? Okay, don't forget springboard. Okay, now we go that extra meal. And what we're doing here is, well, tell you what, if you do twice the amount of the fried rice, say double it up, and right at the moment when it's just perfect, put it into smaller bags, all right, write it on the bag what it is. I hadn't done that, I want you to see. And just put enough there for, say, 2 cupfuls into each little bag, all right? And then mark it and put it in the deep freeze. All right, bring it out, let that defrost naturally. And here's something you can do in a flash. I mean, literally a flash. Go to the store, get some nice collard leaves, and just put them in the top of, a steamer like this one. And several good collard leaves. The big thing about this is to have them so that they're perfectly tender and wonderfully green. All right. And then take a couple of spoonfuls of the defrosted wheatberry mix with all the rest of it, just exactly as we did it. And then a teaspoonful of the salsa, well, maybe just a little bit more, that you like. And then roll that up over the top, like so. And then tuck the edges in at the sides. And then roll that up neatly like a little package, okay? And put that over there on the plate with the rest of them. Now, if you do that, by the way, this is for steaming later on. Let me just show you what that's going to look like when it's cooked. When it's cut through on the plate, it will be absolutely fabulous. And this with a salad on the side, or just as a snack. I mean, sometimes don't you want things that are a snack that you could do so quickly, all right, that they're really ready for it. So what I do with this is then put this into the outside steamer tray, stick that on the top, put the lid on the top of that, and just let those simmer away. Now, about 5 minutes simmering at the steam, then you can take that off the top, and this, by the way, really works well. When you want to get them off the plate, you just drop that. Isn't that fun? And you can get the plate straight off. Oh, well. Hi. Most important thing with all of this is why not, if you're going to cook from scratch, why not take one of those things that takes a little bit of time? You've done the whole thing, you've just increased the ingredients a little bit, and then you can pop it away in the deep freeze and you've got it there for one of those marvelous moments when you can just throw something together. Oh, you did it in a flash, didn't you? God bless. And Joe, thanks a million. Thanks very much. And by the way, hey, I had a nifty idea. Mark, as younger brother, why don't you try that dish and feed Joe with it? Wouldn't that be fun? Next time.